Hello, everyone. It is Saturday, the 20th of July, 2024, and I'm going to start with current events like I usually do. Not a whole lot, just to clarify some things from the past week, because of what's been going on. It's a bit of a mess in the world right now, internationally, but like of significance, obviously, the failed Trump assassination. Just to clarify some things, I was speaking with someone that is a international security advisor as well, and looking at clarifying that there's still people that are saying there was a possible second shooter, not just Thomas Matthew Crooks. And the water tower videos have been coming out. They've been circulating from a lot of mainstream media outlets, from what you would consider independent journals, but there's still things to consider. And so, in conversation with this person, it could possibly be, and I should have thought about this as well. It could have possibly been law enforcement or Secret Service on there, like as part of a counter sniper, either team or individual. They don't usually operate alone. Obviously, we've already said that, and but it could have been that, right? And so even the shots that were fired from a different location, when you're seeing the like the backsplash and obviously rounds being fired in the bleachers, this could possibly be one of the stray rounds from Thomas Matthew Crooks as well, right? So again, until we get more information, more tangible evidence, then I'm still on the fence about that, right? Obviously, there's a lot of things that still need to come out in the wash in order to clarify what really went down that day. The fence, the ladder, the staging area, the command post location, and by the way, the like I want to clarify again, it was Secret Service snipers that were on the roof, co-located by Trump at the time. So I just wanted to clarify that was not municipal or local police. It was indeed Secret Service snipers. All interesting stuff that's going to come out in the wash. Kim's been subpoenaed, the head of the Secret Service, and so she has no choice, excuse me, at this point, but to share the data. I mean, I say she has no choice, but there have been multiple government officials that have been subpoenaed and with requests for information, and they have either deleted information. A little bit crazy. People are not. Is what it is. I'm really hoping that this is something that is again taken care of in a peaceful way, and investigations done, and more information disclosed to the public. And so even with the financial stuff that people have been discussing and sharing, even mainstream media, it could possibly be clerical errors. You know, there was definitely mistakes that were made, and but in even the owners of of Austin Private LLC, for example, you know, had said that it was an error in the data that they inputted, talking about the shares and stocks, the value of DJT versus the CrowdStrike event that happened. It could have been in response to that. I don't know. But even since then, again, they're very much connected with Microsoft. And so, you know, and who owns Microsoft, or who did, and who still owns shares and stocks. And it's people that are not popular, especially since COVID. And so, yeah, it could have been in response to that. And then even Elon Musk recently has said that he's going to be terminating all applications, any organizations, remove CrowdStrike from those platforms. And so that's his response to that as well. And who knows? Anyways, on this day in history, we obviously know that there were people that were lied to on a massive scale in 1969, July 20th, a non-leap year, the 224, because it is a leap year. And so Neil Armstrong allegedly walked on the moon, the first man to walk on the moon. Again, that's a lie. And it was at 10:56 Eastern Standard Time, allegedly. And so 7:56 Pacific Time, where Washington is located. And so it would have been 756. So even when you've got the 7 and the colon and then the 5 and the 6, 5 plus 6 is 11. So you've got the 7 and 11 even in the time that he allegedly landed. And so there's just so many synchronicities that they like to put out there. It's part of their universal language to let others know that it's possibly a ruse or not a real event, and then dupe everyone else, right? Mark Miller, who's part of cabinet in Canada, who should have been fired long ago. He is a puppet, and he's being played just recently in the last 2 days, and he's complaining about that. But I'm assuming that there's possibly people that are looking for data that they're not providing us in order to proceed with investigations and get things leaked and get whistleblowers again to do the job of law enforcement because they're not doing it right. And so yeah, I wish they were, but they're not. And anyone that does try, like Helen Bruce, still in the courts, people that are trying to hurt Canadians indirectly, directly. Is that the overall goal and intent? No, but money is, and power is, and ego is, and being blackmailed and bribed or brainwashed, still hurts people. So I just wanted to get that out of the way before I get into ODD TV, Flat Earth Trilogy, which is such a friggin' good documentary first, and clarify anything. No, I think that's it for now. So on that note, I'm going to play the video. I don't want to talk too much about COVID because it always gets my accounts deleted on YouTube, but I still do. But if you want any real data on that, go on my Rumble account, Don. There's a lot of information there that I shared from like the start, right? And so I don't like being redundant. Okay, it's still not loading. I hope this doesn't happen later. I'm gonna get a better internet provider, because right now I'm getting access to internet via a ground tower, and I've got a tree apparently that's blocking the signal. Anyway, that's a little bit interesting to me as well, but it is what it is, and so I might have to get Starlink, which it is what it is. But aircrafts that are bouncing signals off to get internet connection, it's better, right? So I wouldn't have to worry about that signal being lost because of trees or anything like that. So we'll see. I won't have it for this afternoon, unfortunately, but I'm going to get I'm going to take a look. So at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's finally loading. I'm going to be on Jaren. It's going to be I'm a VIP guest. It's even weird to say VIP, but anyway, it is what it is. And so if anyone has any questions for me, I'm going to ask that you hold off until I do that live show, because it's a question and answer period. And so, yeah, it would mean going to Jaren's live on his YouTube platform or wherever you want to go on it. I don't know if he's going to be on Rumble, but I'll be on that for a couple of hours, unless there's no questions, and then it'll be a short one. And so this is posted, I believe it was 7 years ago. Yeah, 7 years ago. Less than 1 million views. Blows my friggin' mind. Like, this is better than any movie you're going to watch that's, especially the current woke stuff that's out. And so I don't understand why these videos don't get millions of views. It's 2 hours. It's a little over 2 hours, right? So it's the length of some movies. If it will play. Still loading. While it's loading, I will say that pleased by SCC ruling no absolute immunity from damages for charter violating laws. This was posted yesterday. Ottawa, the Canadian Constitution Foundation is pleased that the Supreme Court of Canada has ruled that the state enacts unconstitutional legislation that infringes charter rights, right? So people that were impacted from the Freedom Convoy, from the from COVID, being forced to be inoculated and getting injured, or getting forced to be inoculated and then getting over like getting overwhelmed when you realize the VAERS that were being submitted even early on, where people knew that there were adverse side effects more than any other time throughout history with any other, and so people are getting pissed off at that. Honestly, people want to sue that are not even vaccine injured. They're just like, what the fuck? Like, are you kidding me? This could have impacted me and or my family, and that's a big deal. And so people don't want this to happen again, and so sue. It's going to cost you money in the short term, but it's going to send a message that you can't do this to humanity, and then also with the financial punishment, that is what hits people harder, unfortunately. In a 5-4 decision, so it was very close. So in a 5-4 decision released Friday in Attorney General of Canada versus Joseph Power, Chief Justice Wagner and Justice Karakatsenis, for a majority of the court, decided that the state may be required to pay damages for passing legislation that meets the very high threshold of being clearly unconstitutional, passed in bad faith, or that amounts to an abuse of power. It's all of the above. It's already been identified. It's already been deemed as such unconstitutional, unlawful to implement the Emergency Act, for example, in the Freedom Convoy, and that came out even in January of this year, so several months ago. And now there are more people fighting this in the courts because of that decision. The Trudeau government has argued that it had absolute immunity from paying damages for its enactments based on the constitutional principles of the separation of powers, parliamentary sovereignty, and parliamentary privilege. The government claimed that damages for enactments of even clearly unconstitutional legislation would open the floodgates to claim a
picture of Earth
from passing constitutional laws out of concern they would later be on the hook for payments. There's no excuses for what you did. So, yeah. The applicant, Joseph Power, had argued that there was no absolute immunity and that he should receive damages to compensate him for the harm caused by the enactment of laws that retroactively removed access to pardons, which were passed despite being in clear violation of the protection in sections 11 of the Charter against being punished twice for the same crime. Anyways, I can go on, but this is all good news. They're trying to back out of it. They're trying to pay other legal teams in order to squash this. It's not going to be squashed, right? More and more people are quote unquote waking up. Using this, it's understood by more people, and yeah, we'll see how this goes. And so Mark Miller, is also someone that could initiate investigations into Justin Trudeau and Chrystia Freeland. That's part of he is someone that is bought clearly by him, and probably why he hired him, because he would never actually do what he was supposed to do in that job, right? But the checks and balances piece is not there. So anyone that has the capacity or the ability to remove Justin Trudeau from office for a vote of non-confidence for doing it, because they're in his circle, and that's not what he's getting paid to do. So I just really wish that the RCMP would step up and do the fucking jobs. But anyway, they had people like a DEI hire like Brenda Lucky, so not surprising that justice has not been served yet. Maybe Eric will take a look as well. The Coutts trial from Coutts, Alberta. You've got Olenek and other people that are still in the courts, and these were people that were minors, as in mining companies, not under the age of 18. I'll clarify that. And so equipment and devices that they've used that were deemed as explosive devices or weapon. There was so much overreach. There's even more coming out in these court cases, and a lot of people are not paying attention because like, oh, who cares? Oh, it's over with. Like, why can't you move on? All that. There's still, because of trying to be of service to Canada and Canadians and address unconstitutional actions, and they're the ones that are still fucking paying for it. And so the least people can do is follow the stories, like, share, support, email their district leaders or your mayor or your elected officials in your community, or even cabinet members, and discuss, right? Because this is, I don't know, this is not what first world countries do. But people are waiting until after elections. I'm assuming, because even with Helen Bruce, like her next court hearing is next year, from January 7th to 11th, or around that period. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of money, because she has to fly in lawyers, legal teams from Edmonton, Alberta, or sorry, from Alberta, I think from Calgary and other areas, but from Alberta. And they have to fly in every single time for these court cases. And this is it's a circus. She's being so, oh my God, abused in this. And again, someone that was bringing in medical, scientific, and facts and investigative reports and exemplary service record, and was shut down by morons. I know I shouldn't make fun of people. God damn it. I'm doing the name calling thing again. I need to try to stop. But anyways, on that note, I'm going to move back on to ODD TV and the what they call the Flat Earth Trilogy, or the True Earth Trilogy, and enjoy it together.
Bondage, born into a prison for your mind.
Buckle your seatbelt, Dorothy, because Kansas is going bye-bye.
You'll want to remember this one as the last time you thought the flat Earth was stupid.
If you're not awake after this movie or this documentary, I don't know.
Hello, everyone. This is ODD, and yes, I'm finally admitting that even though I don't like labels, I'm a flat earther. Based on my research for the past 10 months, our world is very different from the model that we are being taught by the authority on the matter. It took me a while to come to terms with this, and it took even longer to gain the courage to talk about it. It can be pretty embarrassing to go against popular opinion, but this is real. It's not a psyop, it's not a distraction, and it's not a bandwagon. It's a reasonable debate. It's thousands of people taking what we've been told and comparing it to what we see and experience, only to find out that they do not match up. Once you start digging into this, it becomes clear that there is no evidence for the speculated spinning ball that we supposedly live on, and everything points to a flat Earth. The flat Earth is much more to argue against the flat Earth is that we've all been taught otherwise our whole lives. We blindly believe something that A, has never been proven, and B, is pretty much impossible. Thanks to people like Eric Dubé, the flat Earth has reemerged, and it has more steam than ever. Before I've ever even entertained the flat Earth, I knew not to trust the space.
I do got to make another comment just to clarify things. Not to clarify, just further elaborate. So I'm not a fan of Eric attacking other true earthers that are actually legit, like Patricia, like Mark Sargent, like Jaron. Like there's no place for that in the community, in my humble opinion. And these people are getting their facts out, right? Their stuff is dialed in, like they are tight, they are solid. These people are friggin' geniuses, and I get there's like competition and jealousy or whatever like that in the community. You know, people want to be, held to like the higher standard, or I'm better than everyone. I don't know. Maybe there's a little bit of that going on. I have no idea. I have not talked to Eric Dubé in person ever in my life. Just like messages, minor things, and again, it's not. It's few and far between. But for him to like, call out Jaron for wanting to go to Antarctica to debunk people's perception of how the sun operates within this cosmos, like the friggin' nerve of that, like it is bothering me more and more that he would actually do a video on that, knowing that he gets more views than any of us combined probably, and then so just slamming someone that people should be taking a look at, and has also been in this community for many years, over 7 years, I think 8 years, maybe 9 years. Don't quote me on that, but and has been nothing but solid in the community, and he wants to go there, and this will just be another fact that will come out if he goes there and Austin goes there, that is going to debunk and also like further weaken the argument for the globe and the sun's travel path on the globe. And so why would he not take that opportunity? I think it's very brave. He knows that there have been accidents, whether it be by land, air, or sea, for people trying to navigate Antarctica and the North Pole. And actually, even Ryan Zem, I don't know if people are familiar with him. It's been a few years since I've reached out to him, but he has said that also had to explore the North Pole and attempted to go travel through Canada and do such and do it. And he was turned away at gunpoint by law enforcement. And he actually showed me pictures of him getting like with a gun drawn, and like, what the fuck are you doing here? Like trying to go like across borders that are not secured by Canadian or American border agents. And so, you know, there's risk in that, but like people are getting desperate, right? Like they want to find the truth. They're not getting supported or funded. And they're getting turned away at gunpoint, right? And so even with that ship that was going out to investigate Antarctica, like that big military vessel, American, I think it was American, turning their turrets on a freaking small little fishing boat, and where they weren't able to access like further, and so they had to turn around, and there's been accidents like aircrafts that have suspiciously crash landed and in these areas as well. And so the fact is that he's willing to go path, in my humble opinion, and the globe earthers are incorrect. And so again, this would just be one more nail in the coffin for the globe earth theories, right? And so will they take it? Probably not, because like even with the earth curve, you know, there being no physical geographic horizon, they're not accepting that. They're not accepting that water seeks level. They're not accepting the fact that that gas requires it requires a contained environment, and they're completely their explanations of gravity is ridiculous, and the laws of nature and thermodynamics. They're really getting things wrong, and and so they just keep on like trying to push a narrative that makes no sense, and it's pseudoscience, and they're not being intellectually honest with themselves or other people, and so this will just be another. There'll be another excuse. There'll just be another excuse. Oh yeah, you know, like you know, the video is poor. Like this can possibly not real. Like this could be explained by something else. Like it's all, you know, things that they think they can explain away, but they can't. Not to people that actually understand science.
Programs of the world. Close examinations of NASA and other space programs reveal that things aren't what they seem, and that we, the people, are being lied to. We have no real pictures of the Earth, and no matter how hard we try, we just can't find the curvature. Not only that, but flight paths make more sense on a flat map, and large bodies of water not being able to curve into a giant ball completely resonates.
Forensically speaking, the globe model
And
is
apparently the water is traveling uphill, you know, even upwards of like 11 miles, like for some rivers that people are measuring. And like, is that happening? No, it's not. And have you ever seen that happen in your, like in any like comparable model? No.
so very unlikely that any good detective wouldn't believe a word the globe says. The globe's story is full of circumstantial, impossible coincidences, which only prove that the globe is a fire.
We'll be going over that in this video, as well as other reasons why the world isn't what we're led to believe. I appreciate you tuning in. Let's get started. Our daily observations of the Earth are consistent with a flat and stationary surface. Most, if not all, ancient civilizations knew that the Earth was flat. The people of today would say that ancient cultures were ignorant and unaware, yet they accomplished great feats that we still can't accomplish to this day. The truth is that they had real knowledge, and some of us only have an education. But what is an education? Education is when you are told what to think and how to think. Those that are able to remember and regurgitate what they've been told on command are considered well educated. But there is a big difference between being educated and being intelligent. Just because you believe what you've been told doesn't make it true. In fact, the flat versus spherical Earth is a debate that has never really died. It's been raging for centuries. It was a huge argument as recently as the early and mid-1900s, but with programs like NASA, founded in 1958, the latter half of the 20th century was a win for the spherical Earth. It wasn't a question for the average person anymore. Though at the time the shape of the Earth was still up to be proven, NASA claims that they went to the moon and captured a shot of the spherical Earth as if they always knew it was indeed spherical.
Those of you who think this technical difficulty was planned and think I'm scamming you, go do it for yourself. Because you're going to find the exact same thing. I got nothing to hide here. This is live on the air, okay? I'm going to zoom in on the Earth in Photoshop. You see the Earth? To image, adjust, levels. And I'm going to bring the levels over here. And I'm going to bring the levels up. Uh-oh. What is that? Why is there a square box below 17? And people wonder why I don't trust NASA. That's why I don't trust NASA. I mean, they're always out there saying, you know, Rob, everybody's trying to show you stuff from space, and you keep rejecting it. This is why I reject it. These guys are liars. You know.
What are some of the basic observations someone can make to ascertain that the Earth is neither a globe or spinning?
We've been taught that we're on a ball spinning around the sun, and so to hear that you might be on a flat plane, motionless at the center of the universe with all the celestial bodies spinning around you, just as it appears, experience and common sense all tell us that the horizon is perfectly flat, and we feel motionless. We don't hear ourselves whizzing by at thousands of miles per hour. No matter how high amateur rockets or balloons have gone up, the horizon rises to the eye of the observer all the way up, and that's only time has gone on. And so, yeah, it began with the spinning Earth going 1,000 miles per hour, which is then circling around the sun at 67,000 miles per hour, which then they decided the sun wasn't a heliocentric model, but more of an acentric model, where they don't know where the center is, and we're just exploding out of a big bang. So the sun, we're spinning around the sun, and then the sun and us are spinning around the Milky Way galaxy, they say, at 500,000 miles per hour. And then the entire Milky Way galaxy, they say, is shooting off from the Big Bang at 670 million miles per hour, almost the speed of light. So there's at least 4 rip-raging, contradictory motions supposedly going at all times.
And even the speeds that Eric is coming up with, like even that is up for debate.
Don't experience any of it, nor can you measure any of it using the stars. The flat motionless Earth is not only is it the greatest conspiracy of all, it's also the easiest to prove. I mean, it just is flat and motionless, just as it appears. Look into it more and more, make it a thing to try and debunk it, if you will. You know, even if you want to do it that way. Negative reinforcement works too. Try as you will, you're only going to find proofs for the flat motionless Earth. You're not going to confirm that you're on a spinning ball.
And there are a lot of scientists and engineers that have proven that this Earth is flat and stationary. I just wanted to share an image. This is from the Navajo tribe. This was when I was in Canada. I took this photo, even though like the Navajo tribe, like they were not the like the ruling tribe and at the Grand Canyon. The Navajo were in the, and so this is a drawing that I took from one of the stone tablets, and very, very interesting. And so when we say that people from ancient times or from previous eras understood the reality of the Earth more than we do now, like this is what I'm talking about. So you see these 3 rings, and this being like the center of this possible Earth, and then the line that's being connected from this ring to this ring or circle. You see this is the possible indication of the sun's travel path within this firmament, within this dome, and above us, being more local, being smaller than we're being led to believe, and then the limits or the boundaries of its travel path. And so this could be, I'm assuming, again, this is my own theory, the Tropic of Cancer, which is closest to the north, the center, and then you've got the equatorial ring or circle that the sun travels through, and then this being the Tropic of Capricorn, being the larger ring where the sun travels a little faster, and again to balance out for the 24-hour clock that we experience with this divine clock. And so this doesn't work on a globe, right? This Tropic of Capricorn ring would be the same size as the Tropic of Cancer. The larger ring would be the same size as this one underneath. And so this, to me, also is just more proof, even when I look at the petroglyphs and the hieroglyphs and text from ancient times, the flat Earth model has been out there well before this alleged globe. Anyway, I just want to share that. That was very interesting. And so that's just my interpretation of that symbol. Is it right? I don't know. I have no idea. But that's just how I interpret it. Wait till it loads. There we go.
The curvature of the Earth eludes us. Either the Earth is much larger in circumference than we are told, or the curve just doesn't exist. People assume that there is a curve, but it's never really been proven beyond a reasonable doubt. Cameras with fisheye lenses, Hollywood movies, and NASA CGI are the closest we get to seeing curvature.
The deception and the lies are just so pervasive, and they're just so deep. I swear, it gives me a headache.
Yeah.
The surface of water is always level. This is just natural physics. We know this, that water, if unobstructed and uncontained, will flow outwards, finding the easiest course to maintain its own level, right? So, but the Ball Earth model claims that the oceans are huge 100-mile walls of curved water curving around the ball. That's ridiculous. They say that gravity makes this possible, but you don't see that. You go to the beach, you see completely flat horizon, you see water just ever so gently coming up on the shore.
So there's the pretty blue marble that NASA claims we are living on, with circumference of 24,901 and 3959 radius. So to find the curvature, you take 8 inches times your distance squared. That's 8 inches times your distance squared, and if you don't square the distance, you end up with this, and this is not what NASA has shown us. They have given us a beautiful blue marble that we love. So you get 8 inches for 1 mile, 32 inches in 2 miles, 16.6 feet with 5 miles, so on and so forth. So what I did is I shot this pier, which is in Daytona Beach, Florida. And as you can see, between the water and the walkway of the pier is about 12 to 16 feet based on the height of the people and the railing. So I started at Granada, which is 4.92 miles away, and I shot this. And based on that distance and the formula, there should be 16 feet of curvature. But obviously, you can still see the entire gap under the walkway there between that and the water. So in addition to that, behind that pier is actually a lighthouse, which you can see right above the pier. You can see the light. That is 16 miles away from my location. And I shot that lighthouse. And the curvature from 16 miles away should be 170 feet. You can clearly see about the entire lighthouse beyond that pier. So like I said, there should be 170 feet of curvature, but there's none. And those hotels there are even further. Those are in New Smyrna, which is 20 miles. If NASA is right, and we do live on a ball, they're going to have to make up that curvature. If it's not in the 20 miles I'm shooting, well, then that means it's got to be made up further on down the line. So you can't have it both ways. You can't say we live on this ball and then say, oh, you can't detect the curvature. Well, you got to detect it somewhere, because if it's not dropping here, it's going to have to drop even more down the line in order to make that circle, that ball they say we live on. And it's pretty round. That blue marble they give us is perfectly round.
Lighthouses are one great example. The Isle of Wight Lighthouse in England, it's 180 feet high and can be seen up to 42 miles away, a distance at which modern astronomers say the light should fall 996 feet below the line of sight. Why can you still see it? Another one worth mentioning that people will be familiar with is the Statue of Liberty. It stands 326 feet above sea level, and on a clear day can be seen as far as 60 miles away. Now, if the Earth was a globe at the dimensions that they give us, that would put Lady Liberty at an impossible 2,074 feet below the horizon.
No, not one picture of the Earth. Imagine that. 2016, and we still don't have a picture of our home. Thousands of satellites supposedly orbiting the Earth. Why can't we get thousands of pictures? One shot with the whole Earth in it. Hell, we should have a channel on cable that shows the Earth rotating 24 hours a day, every day. Nope. Let's listen to NASA's very own Robert Simon talk about how we get our fake pictures of Earth.
In 1972, we saw our home in a new way. Apollo 17 astronauts snapped this picture.
It gave people the first look at their home planet as a single entity.
Last week, scientists at NASA released this. The shot is compiled from data from NASA's VEERS instrument, which orbits the Earth about every 100 minutes, taking measurements of light coming off the planet. That can be translated into ribbons of imagery like this, and then into one of these. And this is just the latest in NASA's Earth from Space album, which may be one of the most mind-expanding collections of images in human history. And then in 2002, Blue Marble 2.0, NASA's Rob Simon made this. Simon's job is...
It's primarily taking data and making pictures out of it.
That's what this is. A composite of data sets from several different instruments translated into a picture.
So we actually had to take clouds out.
They stashed the clouds for later, went onto the ocean. That came from an instrument that measures phytoplankton in the sea.
Where it was low, I colored it dark blue because they're low mostly in mid-oceans. And then where it's a little bit higher, it was like a little bit brighter green.
Then add the clouds back in.
There's a small problem with it because there's a very slight gap in between each orbit.
So some of those are painted on.
It is Photoshop, but it's has to be.
Then
there was another layer to sort of simulate the atmosphere.
And then there's this little bright spot.
It's called the specular highlight. So it's the reflection of sunlight off of water.
Those are the pieces, but you can't just slap them all together.
It just didn't look realistic. It looks kind of flat, or the clouds are sort of too see-through. So I just hit Command Z a lot.
There's artistry to creating the world.
What I imagine it to be. Unfortunately, I'm not an astronaut. I've never been to space, but sort of get the essence of it. It is photoshopped, but it's has to be. It is photoshopped, but it's has to be. It is photoshopped, but it's has to be. It is photoshopped, but it's has to be.
Excuse me. Not having one authentic picture of the Earth alone is a huge red flag.
Christoph, let me ask you, why do you think that Truman has never come close to discovering the true nature of his world until now?
We accept the reality of the world with which we're presented. It's as simple as that.
The flat Earth model is a working model. It's by no means definitive due to the nature of this massive cover-up. For the past 500 years, we've been completely buying into the Copernicus heliocentric model, but what we seems to be working out. This map goes as far back as the year 1000 and possibly earlier. Now used as an official map by the U.S. Geological Survey and also as the official logo for the United Nations. Is this our real home being hidden from us in plain sight? I think it is. The first thing a lot of people say is, where's the edge? Well, look at this map where Antarctica is a 360-degree ice barrier that holds the water in. These ice walls are real, and they stand 150 feet above the surface of the water. Then you need to understand that there is no independent access to Antarctica. Average people can only go there on a guided tour. It has no towns, no cities, and no permanent residences. The ice extends, how it terminates, and what exists beyond it. The Antarctic Treaty, in 1959 by 12 nations and more later on, states that Antarctica is for peaceful purposes only. No military activities, just scientific research and government exploration. Expeditions by any party must be discussed in advance. It's the longest and most successful treaty between nations. The treaty also states that there are ships, stations, and equipment to ensure compliance of the treaty. Sounds like military activity to me. Anyway, so this azimuthal equidistant map appears to be correct for the most part. Over the centuries, there's been other maps that look pretty close to it as well. Let's look at an interesting story that was recently in the news that supports this flat map. A woman gave birth on a flight from Bali to Los Angeles, so the flight made an emergency landing in Alaska. Here's what it would look like on a globe. Now, here's what it would look like on a flat Earth. Which one makes more sense? Exactly. A big issue I was having with the flat Earth for the longest time was the sunrise and sunsets. I realized that it was a perspective issue. First, you must understand that the sun is not 93 million miles away. If it was, we would never see anything like this here. This is concentrated because it's closer. It's much more probable that the sun is only a few thousand miles away and that it's the same size as the moon. Once you comprehend this, all of the sudden, solar eclipses make sense. Holy fucking shit! Something that makes sense. The area that it's over, and when it leaves your view, due to perspective, it takes the light with it. There is a generous amount of light where the sun is at, but since it's so close, it doesn't spread its light like it would if it were bigger and further. The sun circumnavigates the Earth like a huge clockwork. Sometimes that takes a while to sink in. All right, let's talk about the Coriolis effect. The Coriolis effect states that when a moving object leaves the ground, the Earth continues to rotate, meaning that when shooting a gun at a certain distance, the bullet would be a little off due to the Earth's rotation. If that's the case, then airplanes would have to account for the Coriolis effect, but they don't. This is only a few things that work better on a flat, motionless Earth. Do you need 100 excuses? Are those excuses easier to believe? Or is it easier to use Occam's razor and go with what our senses are telling us? The Earth is flat and not spinning.
Now, real quick, let's kind of just explain the Coriolis effect in layman's terms. The Coriolis effect is the effect that when the bullet leaves the barrel of the gun, it is actually the barrel of the gun. The Earth is still rotating, and the bullet is not rotating with the Earth. So the Earth will actually rotate out from underneath of the bullet while it is in flight.
This one is a touchy subject. This whole fucking video is a touchy subject. So anyway, the space is up for debate. Space programs are compartmentalized, and most astronauts are Freemasons that have to swear an oath of secrecy when dealing with the
I don't know about the whole Freemason thing. Like, they become part of a crew, a group, a club that we are not invited in. But are they all Freemasons? I don't know.
so-called missions.
There's so many different what we would consider occult groups, right? But they like the Golden Dawn, the Illuminati, Rosicrucians. Anyway, the list goes on. Skull and Bones, but these people and these other weird parties, you know, in wealthy communities, and so they don't have access to us, and vice versa, or this information.
The thing is that there is so much footage of NASA and other space agencies making mistakes. Sometimes we could see bubbles in the spacewalks. Sometimes we could see harnesses and wires on the people in the International Space Station. The permed hair that moves nothing like it would in zero gravity. These are huge red flags. Radiation belt is a layer of energetic charged particles that is held in place around a magnetized planet such as Earth by the planet's magnetic field. Sounds kind of like a dome if there is one. Oddly enough, one of NASA's employees admitted that this radiation belt needs to be figured out before humans could pass through it. Listen closely.
An area of dangerous radiation. Radiation like this could harm the guidance systems, onboard computers, or other electronics on Orion. Naturally, we have to pass through this danger zone twice, once up and once back. But Orion has protection. Shielding will be put to the test as the vehicle cuts through the waves of radiation. Sensors aboard will record radiation levels for scientists to study. We must solve these challenges before we send people through this region of space.
Let's talk about satellites. We've already discussed how there are no pictures of the Earth. So are satellites even real? Not likely. Ground towers are built all over the world and are more than
they're not beyond the Kármán line. I don't think at all. But there are what we're calling satellites or satelloons. They're connected to balloons and they're connected to aircrafts and to bounce signals off for people to get internet. That's a newer development only in the last few years, because it used to be ground towers and fiber optic cables underwater. Like 99% of our internet connections, again in recent past, that like maybe a few percent, can be taken down off of that for these the aircrafts that have the signals on and these satelloons that are put into low Earth orbit.
Adequate to relay our television, radio, and cell phone service.
All GPS is done through land-based towers, and things like Google Earth are taken with high-altitude planes, and most of them are just done with cars on street level. Did you know that satellites were actually invented by Arthur C. Clarke, the science fiction author?
I didn't know that.
They shortly became science fact after that. The geostationary satellite, look it up. It was created by a science fiction author. And then within a decade, NASA claims to have sent a real one up there. And ever since then, that's where we get all our communications from.
So if satellites were real, we would constantly hear stories of them being hit by meteors or comets, and that doesn't happen. No one's ever lost their DirecTV feed during the Perseids meteor shower because one of the meteors knocked out one of the satellites. It doesn't happen, it's never happened, and it won't happen. And that to me tells me there is no satellites. You would constantly be worried about them, and you would constantly hear about them having something happen, and it's so rare that you hear that.
You do hear it though. They crash land.
So you may or may not have heard the term cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is when new information challenges your beliefs and you just can't let go. It's just like that scene in The Matrix.
No. I don't believe it. It's not possible. Stop. Let me out. Let me out. I want out. We never free a mind once it's reached a certain age.
It's not easy going through this kind of deception and then realizing that your whole life was spent thinking and believing one thing when it's the opposite. Nobody wants to feel like they've been fooled, like they've been had. I'm human just like you, and I never would have thought in my wildest dreams that I'd be on this kind of journey, this journey of realization and reckoning, this journey of putting everything I know to the side so I can absorb information that seems ridiculous, yet so sensible. It's time to say fuck it. It's not your fault that you were wrong. It's not your fault that you fell for a trick that the whole world also fell for. I'm right here with you. It's time to take down your mental barrier and recognize that we have a lot of work to do in order to find out what this place really is and why we're here. It's not to be slaves of the dollar. It's not to be slaves of the clock. Our reality is being manipulated and hidden from us. Please wake up and try to awaken those around you. So how did this happen? Okay, let's start in the classroom. The first time anybody enters the school classroom, they are introduced to the globe model of the Earth.
Yep.
This three-dimensional scale model of the Earth that has never been proven was invented in the 1400s. Fast forward to 1927, a big budget movie company called Universal Pictures came out with its movie intro, and guess what? The spinning ball Earth still hasn't been proven. This is 30 years before NASA was founded. Over the years, Universal kept coming out with Earth before many of the movies that we watch. Besides, there are countless movies about outer space that use the same model. We have been indoctrinated, and it's as simple as that. For the spherical Earth to remain unproven after this long is a wake-up call to everybody that lives here. We need to shed this programming right here, right now, and find out what the fuck is going on. No more embracing this sick illusion that was created by psychopaths. I'm going to keep searching for answers and trying to make something happen. All I want to know is, who's coming with me?
That was funny. Oh, God.
We don't have time for a meeting of the Flat Earth Society.
I'd like to be an explorer, like Great Magellan.
Oh, you're too late. There's really nothing left to explore.
Right before your surgery, I asked if you had left your cell phone, and you said, which one?
When? Skylar, I was medicated. I mean, I could have said the world was flat.
You know what I think? I think you accidentally told the truth.
The world was flat.
You know what I think? You accidentally told the truth.
The world was
flat. You know what I think? You accidentally told the truth.
Really, the evidence shows me that it's flat and stationary. There is much more evidence based on.
So it's not actually a sphere. It's oblate. And officially it's an oblate spheroid. That's what we call it. But not only that, a little chubbier.
Yeah.
Chubby's a good way. It's like pear-shaped.
Really, we're in big trouble as far as lack of critical thinking and lack of free thinking. We really are in big trouble. We need to step it up as far as the awakening goes. You really need to put your thinking cap on, and you really need to start to little mind.
Yep. Yeah, my audio has been a little wonky. I gotta fix my internet. I'm off of I'm going off of an independent internet provider, and it's a ground tower that's being used. And yeah, I'm having really bad reception issues. So this week I'm going to be most definitely looking at upgrading. And yes, yeah, this looks really unprofessional. It's Trilogy. Oh. No, it's still loading. Well, that's loading. I was going to share this. It's about me, so it's a little weird if I can even pull it up. I will share the Trilogy. I'm going to carry on, but I want to see if I can even get this this up. I did a reading a few years ago with this guy named Ruman, who's an expert Babylonian, I guess, astrologist, astrotheosophist, and he did a birth chart reading for me, and it's not loading, but maybe it will now. It was just very interesting. I'm not going to play the whole thing because it's over an hour long, but for people that are interested in this,
When it is ready, it will pop up in Skype, and you can download. Babylonian fixed zodiac.
oh, it's still loading.
And if I switch to the tropical, and this is what we'll be seeing here. This is according to the tropical zodiac. Material one. Okay.
I do follow both.
I
obviously.
just for on the right is the western horizon, and MC is here. This is the meridian, which is up in the sky. So on the left is east, on the right west, and this is something like projection in 2 dimensions. So we can see here almost everything. That we see the whole horizon, we see the stars, everything, the images. Also, we see the planets, if they are visible or they are not visible. Everything is here. And let's see here what is happening in your chart. Okay, yeah.
I thought I was for many years, but I guess it was the
mode,
Moving on.
which is very powerful for the moon, but also both of your luminaries, which is the sun and the moon, and which are the most important points in a chart, together with the MC. So moon, sun, ascendant, MC, these are the most important points. And in your chart, both luminaries are very strong because your moon is on the western horizon. You see here, on the western horizon, and your sun is very close to the eastern horizon. Actually, it is like 6 or 7 degrees below horizon, and this is becoming light, bright. And when you were born, it was so bright that you could read a newspaper without artificial light. You are born between the day and the night. So both luminaries are very strong, which is very good for everything, for health, for strength of the will. Also, what I see here is one very interesting thing here. You see, this is the disk of the moon, this circle here. So if you look carefully, you will see that this disk of the moon is a celestial bull of Taurus. You see, this is here Taurus, and the moon is right here between the horns, and this area here between the horns of the bull is one of the 4 sacred areas, which is, there is one in Scorpio, another one in Leo, and another cross. These 4 sacred areas, they are making a cross, and the significance here of the moon or the sun there between the horns of the the celestial bull is that this usually occur in people, in spiritual people who have some good karma, some good spiritual karma from, and it is actually serious. It is not a small thing, because when you have the moon or the sun between the horns of the celestial, the image of the crown of Isis, the Egyptian divinity of wisdom.
Wow.
Yes, because Isis is wearing such a crown. It's with the horns of a bull, and between the horns, a disc of the sun or the moon. And because it is also full moon, this gathers a lot of power. I believe that probably this is the most important. Actually, your chart is very strong, but this one, yes, but this one is one of the strongest points. And such people with the sun or the moon in this place, forming the crown of Isis, they are called, they are summoned to be priests of Isis. So you don't have to work in the temple to be official priest with your robe or with your diploma and so on. This is the outward side, but the inner side of the things is something which cannot be seen very easily by the eyes. And so this is exactly about this kind of internal karmic treasures, so to say, spiritual treasures. So with such powerful chart, I believe you can achieve for you than for standard person. Also, look here. The meridian. This is the meridian here, which is up in the sky in high, and as you see, it is in the beginning, like your MC is the first degree of Babylonian balance, but the star speaker is very close. The star speaker is in the last degree of Virgo, Babylonian Virgo, or the Vedic tradition, it is in 00 Libra. In the Babylonian, it is like 29 degrees and 4 minutes of Virgo. So this star here, speaker, this is a spiritual star. Spiritual star. They are like Mercury and Venus, and speaker is spiritual star through the intelligence. Like all of them give spiritual ambitions, interests in the spiritual science and practice, but each one is different in the way that they look at the world. So speaker is more for the hermetic sciences. Speaker is a star of intelligence, of talking, so this is also one very important point in your chart, which is also spiritual. The moon there between the horns. Speaker here, yes. And look, you have here Saturn. Saturn is very close to the meridian, very close to MC. Saturn is also in sextile to the Sun. So this is a powerful position here of Saturn, because any planet which is very high in the sky is the most powerful planet. A planet which is highest in the sky is the most powerful. It is presidents, they always sit very high. So the same also for the chart. And your Saturn is in balance, which is
there's more that he talks about. This is probably getting boring for people, so I'm going to go back on to ODD TV. I just thought it was very interesting, like some of the things he addressed in my chart a few years ago, and some people are interested in that stuff. And so so his name is Rumen, and he still does readings. And so if you wanted to book something with him, I don't get paid for saying that, by the way. I haven't even talked to him in a few years. You can do a 30-minute, you can do an hour. I'm sure if it goes over, like, there'll be no issues with that. But anyways, on with ODD TV. Wait for it to load. I'll try again to share. I really hope this doesn't happen later. I might have to consider leaving this live later. We'll see.
Since I put out my last video, and believe me, I've been looking. Ever since I came out as a flat earther, I've been examining things much more closely. It's as if I'm secretly hoping to find something that will lay this flat earth to rest, so I can get back to my normal life of exposing chemtrails and secret societies. It's just not happening. The more I look, the more I'm convinced, and the more I want to talk about it. There is no curve to be found or measured. And there's hints sprinkled all over the place, like this popular study, for instance. A study conducted by Department of Geography, Texas State University, and Department of Geography, Arizona State University, concludes that the state of Kansas is flatter than a pancake. On a scale, the pancake is approximately 0.957. That's pretty flat, but Kansas is 0.9997 flat over its length of 400 miles, distance that should render 20 miles of curvature from one side to the other on a sphere that's 25,000 miles in circumference.
And I've seen plenty of stuff at between 100,000 and 30,000 feet that's flat as a pancake.
No matter where you are above the surface of the Earth, the horizon always rises to your eye level. Doesn't matter if you're standing on a beach or up a hill or in a plane at 35,000 feet. The horizon is always at eye level. We know intuitively if we stand on a beach with a panoramic view that the sea is flat. It's flat at sea level, miles high.
In my efforts to try to prove the globe, it's falling apart with horizon tests and seeing things that we shouldn't be able to see. If the ball is real, the math shows that, you know, with the curvature, there are things we should not be able to see, and yet people are seeing it. So that has me really questioning the globe, and I don't question the math, because that math, it's not math conjured up by flat earthers. I used to be a lifeguard on Ventura Beach, and on a good day, on a clear day, we could look out and see the Anacapa Arch, 40 feet high. So the math says if we're on a ball, 25,000 mile circumference ball, that the top of that 40-foot island arch should be over 200 feet below our ability to see it on the other side of the...
This is from Joshua Nowicki. And what you're seeing here is short. We talked about this last night. Conditions are right on the lake that we're actually seeing a mirage of the Chicago skyline. Very interesting.
One that has not ever seen a mirage, clearly.
Here's what's happening. This is a good example of a superior mirage. So Joshua was on he was looking towards the west, and Chicago's beyond the horizon, should not be able to see it. However, with the right conditions, we have an inversion. We have cold air near the cold lake water and some relatively warmer air above it. This will bend the image of that skyline back towards the viewer. And so typically we would not be able to see this. This image would be viewable from much, much higher in the sky up in space. But instead, we're able to see it on the Lake Michigan shore.
Shut up, conspiracy theorist.
The horizon is not the curvature of the ball Earth. The horizon is just the vanishing line of perspective from your point of view. You can use a telescope or binoculars and zoom in on the horizon, and something that's been completely disappeared beyond the horizon, like a ship, can come all the way back into view. proving that that is not the curvature of the Earth you're looking at, as they tell you. It's a kind of perspective from your point of view. And they still use that as a proof of the ball Earth. They say that ships going away, as you see their hulls disappear before the masthead, because they're going over the curvature of the Earth. Yet we've got technology now to prove that that's wrong, but they'll still keep saying it. I put it in my videos. I'll put it right here. I'll put it in this video of me talking about this right now. You may be watching this on YouTube. You're watching a review, so you can see that that is not the curvature of the ball Earth, but there will still be 50 people in the comments section saying that that's the curvature of the ball Earth. The idea that people are standing, ships are sailing, and planes are flying upside down on certain parts of Earth, while others tilted at 90 degrees and all other impossible angles, is complete absurdity. The idea that a man digging a hole straight down could eventually reach sky on the other side is ludicrous. Common sense tells every free-thinking person correctly that there truly is an up and down in nature, unlike the everything is relative rhetoric of the Newtonian Einsteinian paradigm.
There's no curvature. It's wonderful. This is the most amazing. Can you imagine? It's exactly what we see.
I cannot express this enough, but NASA is just not giving us the truth about what they know. This is crucial to understand. Forget about the flat Earth for a minute if you have to. Focus on NASA and that you're being deceived, then I'm afraid that there is no use for you in this cause anyway. Check out this NASA document describing a flat, motionless Earth. So I came across this paper. It's an official NASA document published in August 1988 called The Derivation and Definition of a Linear Air Formulas and all sorts of that describe a linear aircraft model. What I found interesting was on page 35, it says this, concluding remarks. This report derives and defines a set of linearized system matrices for a rigid aircraft of constant mass flying in a stationary atmosphere over a flat, non-rotating Earth. I'll put a link to this in the description.
The other thing I'd like to mention at this point is how easily we can be fooled by two-dimensional imagery. We've been trained and conditioned to suspend disbelief when we see certain two-dimensional imagery, such as photographs. You know, a photograph is not reality. It's a photograph. And photographs can be altered and manipulated. Video is not reality. And here's some examples of that. Point is, you can't automatically trust any two-dimensional imagery or media that's presented to you by the establishment. When you try and search for a picture of Earth from space, you'll find surprisingly few of them. In fact, all of them are composites. NASA will freely admit to them being composite images or CGI or Photoshop.
It is Photoshopped, but it's has to be.
Even the one image that is claimed to be an actual photograph of Earth from space is called into question, simply because of a film that was released accidentally by NASA of Apollo 11 faking the very first picture of Earth from space. So let's have a look at that video.
An old reel received by mistake. It contains the raw or unedited footage of the crew of Apollo 11, Michael Collins, Edwin Aldrin Jr., and Neil Armstrong, staging part of their mission for nearly an hour in color, with exceptionally clear behind-the-scenes audio of conversations discussing the techniques used to achieve a disingenuous picture depicting the Earth at a distance in order to falsely demonstrate their far journey from it and their ability to survive passing through the Van Allen radiation belts. It cannot be misconstrued that this staging was done for some other reason, for the reel itself is slated and dated July 18th, 19th, and 20th, 1969, the very days of the mission when they were said to be approaching and achieving lunar orbit. Understand, too, that only about 20 seconds of this raw footage was ever broadcast to the public, and these conversations discussing their deception were believed to be private until now. Here they discuss that these television transmissions were in fact not broadcast live as everyone believed. They were first
Of course, as soon as I go for a coffee. As soon as I go for a coffee. I don't know how long this was, I don't know how long I was out for. Internet. Interesting. Okay. I'm going to link it in the chat. If you want to watch the full movie from ODD TV, then there you are. I'm just going to make sure that it posts first before I end this. So yeah, it looks like I'm getting like internet disruption issues yet again. I'm going to try to work on that. As a wonderful rest of your day.